If I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to Perfect Mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm JClay, rapper, the spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode. Perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode.
Perfect. What up? Welcome to Perfect Mode. And first off, let me start by telling y'all that we love y'all. We're grateful for the opportunity to be in thoughts, hopefully in helping you realize that you are perfect. And the reason why I can say that unapologetically is because I know you are one of one. You are numero uno. You cannot be duplicated, replicated. And the only reason, Jay, and I mean the only reason think that you're not perfect is if you look into this person on the side of you and saying, I'm not them. But you are you, and that's all you need. And of course, it's yours truly, Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. And I have my boy JClay, spiritual rapper and teacher. And we about to jump on here and talk about getting back. I gotta say this slow. I'm gonna say this real slow. Getting back to the basics. Getting back to the basics. What up, Jay?
Yo, happy day to all the wonderful people in perfect land doing the perfect thing here at the perfect place, perfect time. This joyous Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday outside. Well, at least it is here in Houston. But every day is a beautiful day. And I'm very excited to talk about getting back to the basics because this is an important thing. I had a jump start on it last night, and it's time to simplify, man. It's time to simplify. Real quick, let me say shout out to our Patreons. Click the link in the description if you want to support Perfect Mode. We invite you to support. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, so the question or the begging question at this moment is, what are the basics? What does that really look like? Because through our life, the way that we live in, all the things that we get to touch on and get a feel on and experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes we lose sight of how we even got to the places that we're actually in. So what is actually the basics in your mind?
The basics is getting to the core, not only the core of who you are, but the core of who you want to be. Like taking stock of inventory that you're doing, like all the stuff that you're doing right now, all the projects that you want to do, get it all written out, get it all organized, and see if you're aligned with it. But not only that, like see if you're moving toward it. Because again, like things can get so busy, we can get caught up in so much routine that we miss the most important things. And we go down this trail of just busyness, but it's no reward for the busyness because it's not what we really want. And so it's to make sure that if we are busy, it's in the field that we want and the things that we want in all areas of our life. Like don't leave any of this to chance. Look at your life totally and make sure you're on track.
So I love that you say that, and I want to even go a step further. And again, I can only throw myself in the pool and use my life as the example of what you're talking about, or at least the way that I see it.
Yeah.
And when you talk about getting back to the basics and getting back to the core of who you are, the thing that comes to my mind first is for myself how easy it is to get caught up in, and I don't want to say social media. That's not what I mean. But I want to say other people's social activities, other people's, and it's tied to social media, Jay. But it's just this is the funny thing, man. 2 years ago, I took the class to get my MLO license, mortgage license, lending, mortgage originator license, right?
Yeah.
And I never went and took the test. And the reason why I never went and took the test is because I never felt comfortable. Like I knew enough felt like I didn't study enough in order to put myself in position to pass it. And I felt like it was no reason for me to go and do that unless I knew that I was 100% ready. And the funny thing is, last week, maybe a week and a half ago, I said, I'm going to throw myself in. Now, when you talk about getting back to the core of who I am, the core of who I am whenever I wanted to do something was I always throw myself in. So when I threw myself in, I realized I was using technology to throw myself in. By the way, you can distinction between social media and stuff like that. I found different things to help me study online, videos, YouTube, and I literally just was locked in for at least 10 hours on the computer or on my phone. 10 hours is locked in. And then I went back to the books that I was finding so hard to read. And then when I started reading the books, I started to realize, like, dang, I know this stuff. Now, again, this is partly because I'm getting back to the core of who I am by throwing myself in, whether it's via the internet or looking at the books. And then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break. I said I wasn't going to stop until I did 20 hours, but I said I'm going to take a break. And then I got on TikTok. And then when I got on TikTok, I looked at a video and I was like, oh, let me look at another one. Then let me look at another one. And so before I knew it, hours had went by. I thought to myself, man, you want to talk about losing your core easily. And I don't feel bad about doing it because I needed to take a break anyway. Yeah. But the core of who I was changed or shifted into, I would rather do this. And that's what it draws me to. But go ahead, Jay.
But see, I'm talking about not even from the standpoint of like one of the things you want to do. I'm saying like you zooming out completely. You saying, all right, I know right now this seems like the most important thing. I know this too. Let me get organized with my thoughts. Let me figure like, okay, because you got personal stuff you want to do, and within that is different categories like family, like you might have goals, health goals, whatever. Then you got your work stuff, the stuff you got to do where, and actually like for mine, for example, what I consider work is not what I want to do. Like work is just the stuff I'm doing for money right now. And in a sense, like, it still brings me joy, but I'm moving toward my passion projects where that's my sole income, sole whatever, anything. So that's separate from work. You got all these different categories. And within those things, like there's certain things that you want to do. There's certain things you want to hit, certain goals you want. And one thing that I found is I'm doing a lot. And there's a lot that I want done. And realistically, it's better if I focus on maybe 2 of the 7 things that I really want to do right now, 2 or 3 of them. But again, everybody's different, but it's one of those things you won't know until you shake loose that tree and just see like, oh, I forgot about this. I do want to do this. This does take more precedence than this. This is way more important. Why have I neglected this thing for so long when it's like, duh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's a rehashing of everything, like pulling everything out that you ever wanted to do, getting it on paper, and then just kind of reorganizing from there.
No, and I agree. And again, to tie what you're saying into my story, me not skipping any steps. Yeah. That's essentially what I did. That's how I ended back up to the mortgage loan officer test. Is because I shook the trees, right? And what was left was what I really wanted to. And again, it's not the only thing that I want to do, but it's one of the things that were prominent that I felt like I could do this. But when I shook everything away, and I still had just only that one thing that I wanted to do, there were still things that would prevent me from locking in on my basics. And again, the same rule applies to all the other things that you're talking about. So once I finish with this thing, there are other passion things that I know that are important to me. But again, I cannot get to the basic. I cannot get to the core of me in those things because of I don't want to even frame stuff as a distraction anymore. The core of me, of who I want to be, is somebody that's focused, somebody that wants to be able to accomplish things that I feel like are important to me. Yeah. And somewhere along the way, I allow myself to be distracted in ways that are not bad, but not ways. Go ahead.
Right. And I would say to that, like you know that about yourself, that you enjoy certain videos and stuff. Like that's something you can incorporate too. And like you said, I don't think it's a distraction because even me yesterday, for those that don't know, Saturdays, that's That's like my Sabbath. Like I do nothing. I don't want to say I don't do anything. I don't do what I normally do. It's like I do things that I wouldn't normally do at all, and that can include doing nothing at all. That can include just, I don't know, working on something completely different. And so coming from that space, in the midst of me doing this, I took a bunch of breaks. It was like, okay, I'm done. But then when I was ready to be creative again, it was like, okay, let me revisit this, because this is part of my creativity. Like the things that I spend my time on creatively are the things that I really want. So let's make sure it's part of that. And I did, like, I watched social media a bunch. I probably watched a TV show. Like I did all of this in between that. But when it was time for me to like, all right, let's do something, that was the something, because I knew it was pointless to work on one of the projects if it's not really what I want, even though it is. But I don't know that until I kind of get back to the basics, if that makes sense.
And again, I love that, because us trying to distinguish and get to the point of understanding what those things are is important. And again, along with me shaking the trees, again, I talked to you a week and a half ago, and I was like, man, I'm fasting. I was like, I just kind of told you. And a part of the reason for that was that. And that's the reason why it's very funny that this is our topic today, because I was trying to figure it out. Not trying to figure, I mean, again, there's millions of things that we could do. There's millions of things that I want to do, love to do, can do. But I had to quiet the talking of the food, I guess, in a sense, in order for me to focus or hone in, or, I guess, dig deep to get down to the basics. And I think that's the part that we kind of need to hash out for everybody. How do we, because for me, it's fasting. For you, it might just be, meditating. It could be a million different things, but trying to figure out the thing that works best for us, and then also making that choice. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and I think I agree. Like meditation is something that allows me to keep my mind clear, and it's amazing how quickly it can become cluttered. Shout out to Angela. Write the vision, make it a plan. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Write the vision. Like, and even in the midst of you writing your vision, write out your current things that you're doing already. Like you have things that you're doing that you may feel you have to do, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you see what you have to do next to what you want to do and next to what you need to do, it changes things. You can kind of reorder stuff. You might be able to align 2 or 3 of them where it's like, oh, I can still do what I have to do, that it also includes what I want to do. And it's just like those slight tweaks that you can make when you have it all in one location and you're giving your time to it. And it doesn't take a long time. Like this maybe took me an hour. And again, that hour was broken up because I was doing other things in between that time.
And I would say this as well. When you're writing this stuff out, I know there's a sentiment of thinking like, man, I know I'm gonna have to make a choice, and I'm going to have to potentially leave something behind. But what I encourage everybody to do, and even myself, is when you look at all this stuff, know that you're capable of, acknowledge how amazing you are at even knowing that it's all possible. And allow yourself the grace to know that without putting limitations on yourself, knowing that I can get to these things when I finish doing my passion, or whenever I finish accomplishing or fulfilling whatever it is I'm trying to fulfill first. Because I know a big part of this, and again, this is me projecting, I guess, but I think that people feel the exact same way, is that we always feel like we don't have enough time. We're running out of time. If I don't do this now, then I'm never going to chance to do it. Or, the reality of it is, when you have all these things on the plate that you're not anyway, you're still spending the same time. So it really doesn't have that type of bearing that you try to allow it to have, Jay.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because there was a part of me that almost put a limitation on it from a resources standpoint, because I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then I was like, I'm gonna have to wait though, because I gotta raise the money for this particular thing. But I was like, nah, let's stay positive. Everything is happening, divine timing. What else could I do? Is there another way? And I did find another way where I can take action now towards the things that I really want to do. And it's important that we hold that vision. But even the stuff like you said that we don't have time for, if it's important enough, we can find somebody who aligns with it that might want to do the same thing, and it could be a partnership. Because I mean, if you're not doing anything with it right now, it's not moving forward. Why not split something with another to collectively benefit both of you? And similar to that, I don't know. Have you heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
I heard the name before, but go ahead and elaborate.
So I think I heard about it before, but I was reading on it yesterday, and they said like let's say you wrote out everything you want to do and some of the tasks that need to get done or the next important task for each thing. You would mark everything that's important as important and everything that's urgent as urgent. And so like the things that are both important and urgent, just do them. The things that are important but not urgent, assign a date to do it. Like assign it. The things that are urgent but not important, delegate. Because if it's not that important for you, but it's urgent, delegate to somebody else to do. And then the things that aren't important or urgent, delete them. Forget about them. Because I mean, it's not meant to be right now anyway. And I'm trying this out now. So I've never done this before, but it sounds sound in wisdom.
So when you were explaining it, yes, I have heard of it, and yes, I have implemented before.
Yeah.
And it's when I was a manager at Chase, they made me actually take the course, and they were making us do it because of the amount of tasks and emails and things that we had going on at work at the time. So they were trying to teach us how to maneuver around that, right?
Yeah.
And I would tell you, I was successful at doing it at first, and I encourage people to be consistent, because what I found for myself, as well as all the other managers that were doing it at a time, we did it, but then we got caught back up in our days, and then it kind of just went by the wayside. Because life be moving, and it was easy for us to revert back to what we feel is comfortable, even when something is working for us, but we haven't seen the results that we feel like we should see at the time.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is when I was doing it, there was a stress relief that came over me at the time. So no, I do remember that, and I do co-sign that. And then the other piece. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
I was just gonna say real quick, the stress release for me was that deleted column. I was like,
Yeah.
shoot, I can delete this. Made my life so much easier. But go ahead.
No, straight up though. And that's one of the things that I have always kept with me. That's the only reason I can live with emails, because I mean just my personal email, because some stuff I don't even look at, I just delete. Or else I have a million emails. But the other piece to this is, at least in my opinion, is that when you actually decide, and you touched on it, you said resources. When you start to make your decision on what it is that's important to you or how you feel, don't allow a lack of resources be the deciding factor on whether you do it or not. Also, and the reason why I say that is because a lot of times resources are not apparent to us because we haven't put in the time to look at the thing that we're looking at. And so you can look on the surface and say, well, I don't have enough money for that, or I don't have the tools to do this. But a part of the reason why you haven't is because your focus has been somewhere else. And I liken it to the thought of, like, whenever somebody says, I want a red car. And then all of a sudden you look around and you start seeing red cars everywhere because you are actually focused on that. And there have been many occasions, even again, with me talking about this loan officer book and this training that I've been doing, again, like now, because I've been looking on YouTube and going through all of these studies, again, the algorithm is set to work this way, but a ton of other things that are important that are included and that have popped up in my feed, and is drugged me down the path to watch it, but only because I've highlighted this as a part of my life that's important right now. And so I just caution you to, when you're shaking the tree loose, don't say, well, I don't have this, so I'm gonna go ahead and move this down. To no, decide and then move forward. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I love that. And similar to that, man, it is funny that we're doing this topic today. I recently did this with my finances, and so there's a book we probably mentioned it before. It's called Profit First. And it just talks about how taking the profit out of your business first, because that's why you have a business, to make profit and everything. But anyway, I applied it both to my business and to my personal. And one thing that's relevant to this is every quarter, I audit all of my finances. And you're supposed to put like 3 letters next to each one. So you put a U next to everything that's unimportant. You put a P next to everything that drives profit. So it's like, oh, this is needed, P for profit. And then you put an R next to something that is good, but it can be replaced, meaning that it can be replaced with something cheaper, or you could just do it yourself, or a way that you can get it done without paying for the service. And I say that to say, like, when I did that for my resources, it's a lot that could be replaced, where I can save a lot of money, and then I can have resources to do the things that I really want to do, because I'm spending it on stuff that this is not really high priority. Maybe it was for some point, but it's not that important right now. And if I hadn't done this, I would have just kept on paying and paying and paying, not really getting anything from it. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's important to just bring it back, like shake that tree again, see what comes loose, and look at everything for what it is, and just make sure you're back to that basic level of, this is what I want, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, let's get it.
So, bro, like, and I heard what you said, and then I have a million things going on in my head at the same time. And the thing that's prominent in my mind when I think about this conversation is time. And I know we're not talking about time, but I think about myself, I think about you, I think about all the people around us, that express, things that they're going through. And to me, the thing that it just kind of just keeps hitting the top of the line for me is, do we spend enough time on the things that we want? Again, I know identifying it is important, but once we identify, are we willing to spend the time to do what you did? I mean, even if you doing the breakdown, that's additional time spent to realize. And we run around all the time saying we don't have time to do things, but the only thing we need is the time that we already have, that we just don't want to put. And again, that's when I shifted back to myself and how I started the conversation, with me spending the time. Again, I shook the trees. I don't want to skip the step. I reevaluated my life, and I didn't let anything go by the wayside. I said, this is the priority of things. It doesn't mean this is more, but this is my current, because your current priority can change also, because I think it's based off of how you're feeling. But in this moment, this is my current priority of things. Now that I know what that is, let me dive in. Let me give it the time. Let me give it the time. Because, one of the things you always say, things that you appreciate. And I believe that. I 100% wholeheartedly believe that. And there's another piece to this where I'll say, don't allow panic to set in. And the reason why I say that is because once you start to spend the time on things, not only do the resources pop up that might be needed, but also the obstacles that you have to overcome. And you also have to spend time in resolving those obstacles. And panic will make you divert and go away, even though your priorities haven't changed. Go ahead, Jay.
Man, check this out. So, like, even in doing that yesterday, even in kind of doing stuff like this week, just getting back to the basics, other stuff that I wanted to happen, that I had been trying to kind of make happen, was just happening. But it didn't happen until I kind of reorganized and set my focus and let go of some stuff that I was holding on to that didn't need to be there. And it's just like, this is just crazy. Like, why don't I just stay in this place? Why do I keep letting myself get boggled down by just all this other stuff? And just, why not always keep it simple? So this is just a reminder to that. Like, like you said, those resources will be there. They will be made more apparent that they were always there, but you just hadn't seen, you never saw them because you weren't looking. You were too busy looking at everything else that's just taking up space, but that might not really serve you. And in shaking the tree, like you said, with time, yeah, it's anything at all that you spend significant amount of time on, put it out there just for you to see. And like, do I want this? You know, do I want to look at social media for an hour every day? Like me, I'm cool with maybe that much, maybe one day out the week, but not every day. But it's cool for me to know that, because sometimes I get caught up and I'm like, nope, let me get off all of this. So I'm with you.
And two, I want to talk to you about the social, because again, I don't um, minimize the importance of social media and the things that entertain us, because I think that fun is important. I think that entertainment is important. The only reason I bring those things up is because it's the trance that we get in. You get what I'm saying? And the trance that we get, and well, I guess let me speak for myself. I don't think that being on social media for more than an hour a day looking at videos is an ideal thing to do. Sometimes I fall into the trance. And the proof in the pudding for myself was me taking, me being 100% focused and throwing myself into something that I really wanted to do. And then me saying that I was going to take a small break, how it turned into some hours. And it wasn't purposely. It's not that I downed myself from doing it, because once I realized it, I was like, dang, Troy, you didn't want to do this. But even yet and still, I went back into it because I found myself in a bit of enjoyment. My endorphins was flowing. I was happy. And again, it was and I don't want to say it was a false sense of happiness, right? But it was me forgetting about the basics in the point of me finding another joy. And when I finish watching these things or whatever it is that I'm watching, this is how you know that you're not on your basic game like the way you're supposed to. Because though I enjoyed all that I enjoyed and I don't regret it, when it was done, the thing that I thought about was the basics. And I always talk about Sister Act 2, one of my favorite movies, man. If when you go to sleep at night, you think about singing, you wake up in the morning, you still think about singing, you will sing. You need to be singing. When you stop doing the things that you're doing, the basic or that core is always going to be prominent. It's going to be prevalent. And you may even have an adverse feeling about it. And so when I said I don't regret looking at the videos, I regretted missing the opportunity for the time I could have spent doing the studying that I really wanted to. And so it's about remembering and making sure that basic concept, that core concept, is the prominent thing, and everything else falls in line. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, check this out. So the reason we ever become distracted is simply what we're doing right now. It just isn't fun anymore. Like we could be, stuck in traffic. We could be waiting in line. We could just be doing something where it's just not fun, or just doing a mundane task we don't want to do. And so we allow ourselves to be distracted. But the cool thing about this is, again, when you have it in front of you, everything you want to do, the things you really want to do are going to excite you. The things that you want to do in service of that, like moving toward that, are going to excite you. And if you come to things that don't, it's crazy, because you can like simply reword a task. Like instead of do 100 videos in 100 days, do one video today. I mean, that's just an example, but just you can set these up because you in such a way that, oh, this is very easy to do, and this gets me toward this, and I'm having fun doing this, and it's just like a restructuring of it all. And I say to say that I was very excited to do this yesterday. I'm very excited to do this again today after this show, because I didn't even completely finish everything that I wanted to do, but because now everything is more simplified, I am so excited for everything right now.
No, I love that. And the funny thing is, I've experienced it both ways. Like, you're right. A lot of times we get distracted because there is a boredom that sets in. Like you're just literally like, let me just do something else. But there's also some times where you can still be excited, but something else can excite you more. Something else can be more entertaining to you. There have been times where I've been in training when I was working, and training is not necessarily the funnest thing, but sometimes you get that one trainer that's just on point, and they got your engagement, and then they be like, they do something, and they hit you with that, and they be like, okay, let's take a break, and then you be like, you gonna leave us on a cliffhanger like that, and then you go eat lunch, and then you kick it with your friends, and now that break has taken you away from the momentum that you had, and so again, I think it's important. Like, again, that's why I love this topic. And I love some sentiment that you always give to Jay is meditate. And then meditate doesn't mean take 5 minutes. It could be 10 seconds. I always encourage once you write this stuff down, as Angela said, and make it plain, you shake the trees like JClay said, and you decide, this is the order of operations in Troy right now, or JClay or Angela or whoever's listening. And when you decide that you're going to do something else, take a second, breathe, take a deep breath, meditate on the basics, meditate on that core, and see if you're still driven in that moment to re-energize yourself. Because sometimes you just need to remember why you're doing something for you to get the energy or the joy back. Sometimes you just need to let it set back in, so that way you can feel what you felt when you thought it in that the when you first started. And so I think that's really, really important in the matter. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that actually brings us to the question of the day. The question of the day, like you can answer it, you can tell us, but it's more for you to just think about. And that's, what's one thing you can simplify in your life right now to reduce stress and find more peace? What's one thing? And it's funny, like, just even asking this, it's probably something that just jumped out at you, like, oh, I can do this. But you might feel like you might be ready to add resistance to it. Like, I can't do that. I can't let that go, or I can't exchange this for that. But don't let that. Just ask yourself, how can you, if you feel like that, if you're building resistance around that question. And again, what's one thing you can simplify in your life right now to reduce stress and find more peace?
And I'm going to say this as well, just to kind of reiterate what I've been saying this entire time. The only way these things work is if you even take the time to think about it. Even if something didn't jump out to you, there should be a desire for yourself to always simplify your life. There should be a desire for you always to create less stress or make things easier for yourself. But it does take time for you to sit back and internalize and get back to the basic is you, the core, your core, and realize what makes you feel good. Right? Before this show started, man, well before it started, probably almost an hour before it started, what I did not want, one thing that I knew that was going to stress me out if it happened, was if my camera was not working. It was going to, right? Like, I knew if I had to sit on here for a whole show, that it was going to egg me for an entire hour. And I didn't want to be stressed for an entire hour. Even though everything about perfect mode is everything is perfect, I still want to put forth an effort. That's why I say you always got to take the time, put forth the effort in order to make your life what you want it to be. So I started an hour before the show, and all the way up until 10 minutes before the show, I had no camera. But the graciousness and the love I have for myself for getting it done, as simplistic as that may seem, and then the relief that I have in doing the show, knowing that I can see myself, it's it's small things that add up to a greater thing in our life all the time. And so, like, I think that question is very, very important. What is it that you can do to make this next moment, this next day, this next hour, less stressful for you? Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, what's funny is a small problem, a small perceived problem can easily become a big perceived problem if you're not in that state of the basics. Like, if you're not in that simplified state things just become magnified, and you try to solve this perceived problem from that mindset, and it doesn't work, like, because now you're looking at it like it's greater than you, when actually, like, you can look down on it and see an easy answer. And so sometimes the answer is to just let everything go for a second. It could be meditate, go for a walk, do something completely different, or, like we're saying, get your vision together. But in the problem mindset, that might not even be the best thing for you. So I say that to say that it's important to simplify as much as you can, even before making these decisions as to what you want to do, where you want to go, all this other stuff.
So, I always like to bring my kids into the conversation because there's always examples that I get to kind of witness firsthand, by, something simple as getting back to the basics. And I want to congratulate my son real quick, TJ, who has become a Mavericks ball kid. And essentially it's his first job, and he gets to go to all the Mavericks games and work alongside basketball players and see how the organization operates, and just be around a world that he decided that he wanted to be a part of. And the reason why I bring it up is because not this summer, but last year, he could only talk to me in the summertime. He's like, "Man, Dad, I can't wait till I can get a job. I want to work and I can make money, and all of these different things." And I asked him, I was like, "Well, why do you want to make money?" I was just picking his brain. And he said, "So I can go to basketball games and I can do all of these different type of things, right?" And I still remember the conversation because I told him, I was like, "Look, man, what is it that?" And the reason why I do this, and you might think I'm crazy, but I ask my kids this over and over again because I love basketball, and I never wanted my passion to drive what they're doing. So if you know me, my kids actually, they play soccer, they play football, they play sports year round, but basketball is their main thing. But at this time, when he was talking about getting a job, I stopped in at that moment and asked him, "What is it that you want to do when you grow up?" And he said, "I want to go to the NBA." And I said, "Okay, cool." And now, again, I'm pointing this out because this is a point of me talking about getting back to the basics and reminding somebody. So I'm telling you to remind yourself what it is that you're wanting in that moment. And it doesn't mean that my son's mind won't change later, but in that moment, that's what he said he wanted. So my response to him was, "Well, stop worrying about a job. If you just focus on basketball, all that you want will come. I mean, working will come in basketball. Money will come in basketball. Fun will come in basketball. Everything that you want can come if you just focus on what you want." And so, fast forward a year later, he was at Mavs camp, and they had let us know about the Mavericks ball kid. And we asked, could they put in a recommendation for him? And a lot of kids don't get this opportunity. And so they reached out to us not too long after that and let us know that, if once he wrote his letter and fulfilled his grade obligations, that he was going to be selected to be a Mavs ball kid. Now, what does that look like to him today? He has a job that he wanted. He's been able to go to basketball games that he wanted. He's around the industry in the world that he wants to grow up to be in. And he's seeing all the other opportunities that he can have, whether he's in the NBA playing or in the NBA working as a coach or NBA working as a film coordinator. And again, this is all based off of him being focused on what he wants right now. But go ahead, Jay.
I love that. I love that. And not only that too, like, your part in it as well. Because I remember I asked you, I was like, you wanted Maverick season tickets before, right? And you was like, yeah. But you might not have got it just because you was like, nah, it's not important to spend resources on that. But because you get to take him to the games, you essentially have season tickets. And I think that's one of the most beautifulest things. And it goes to show that we don't have to sacrifice anything. We don't have to sacrifice something else for something else. Like, we can get what we want if we're willing to stay faithful to the idea, if we're willing to stay true to that vision and not let anything else distract us from it. We can have that. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And to your point, yes, 100%. I did say that. And me helping him focus on what he focused on, which again, a part of my job is focusing on making my kids or putting my kids in a position to be who they want to be. And you know, there's a benefit and byproduct for myself. But the reminder for everybody that's listening, as well as myself again, is that there's a core of things that I want for myself as well. There's a core of things that you want for yourself as well. And a lot of times we forget that and try to skip the core for ourselves to get to things that we don't realize our core will take us to. And so, like, me being able to witness it firsthand, and also me share the story, I hope that everybody can see that that thing that you want, it leads you everywhere. And the funny thing is, bro, when I go back to this time and I'm telling TJ that day of his job, though I haven't been acclaimed in music the way that I originally thought, right? Hey, when I talked to him, I've traveled all around the world, and music took me there, because there's not a trip that I ever went on when I was growing up. Because when I was a kid, I never went on. My mom and my dad weren't together, so we didn't have all the money in the world. So from the time that I met you, the traveling, music took me everywhere. Music put me on the stage with some of the biggest names in the industry. Music, millions of dollars. Music did so much when I was locked in to the music the way that I wanted to, and it was all the things that I actually wanted to do in the world. But music took me there. I wanted to meet friends all over the place. Music took me there, and it was the sentiment that I shared to him that I forgot along the way, and I encourage people to just to remember and trust. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and you know, I would share something similar. How, like, yeah, music has my love for music has gotten me so much. Even my so-called spiritual awakening, like it's the pursuit of it. And I'll say, just to clarify, because yes, it's music for some, basketball for others, but it's the love of those things. It's the
Love it.
love that leads us to everything we could ever want. And if we follow our love, if we follow our heart, as they say, like, anything we ever wanted is truly is ours. And again, it's that simple, but we make it more complicated. We think we have to do this. We hear somebody else's success story. We get caught up in, oh, this is how they did it, so maybe I have to switch all of this over and do it that way. Or, oh, I can't do this without this. This is the only way I can do it. The only way ever, really. So let me try to do it this way. And we put ourselves in this box, in this hole, and there's no love anymore. And we're just going through the motions because we think now we're thinking our way through it instead of loving our way through it. And so just getting back to the basics, and again, putting everything in front of you is a way for you to be like, yes, I want that. This is for me.
And see, that's the part of the story too that I want to re-emphasize as well. And I'm telling you, bro, I ask my kids over again, what is it that you want to be? And the reason why I'm bringing that back up is because, to your point, follow the love. Just because you love something today doesn't mean you're going to love it tomorrow. That's not what that means. Just because you've told everybody you love something doesn't mean that you got to stay true to what you've told everybody you love, because a lot of times we will set our expectations based off of what we think that we've made people believe that we want to do.
Yeah.
But it's okay to change what you love. And that's the reason why I ask my kids over and over again. And again, the point here is you should be asking yourself over and over again and being okay with yourself changing. Because if today I felt like I was in love with basketball, but yesterday when I was on my way home, I kicked the soccer ball and I never felt like, I never felt that before in my life, and it made me feel all this joy, then I might want to be a soccer player. I might want to stop, shake the trees, put soccer on top. Doesn't mean basketball goes away, but I have the opportunity in life to spend time on this while I love it and see how far it can go. Get to the basics of it. Give it my attention and my time and see what it can grow into. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. And if we haven't said it, the basis of getting back to the basics. So the things that you want, it should be the things that you love, the things that you love to keep in your life, the things you want to add more to. And again, it is something so profound about saying what you love, what you want versus what you think you have to do. Fortunately, I don't have many things that I think I have to do anymore in my life, which is beautiful. There was a time where that took up most of my life. Like, I have to do, I got it. Like, whew, thank you. I'm just so grateful that I'm no longer in that space, and I won't put myself in that again. And you don't have to either. And that's the thing. Like, just be honest with yourself, be real with yourself, and say that you don't like something. And ask yourself those questions. Like, is there a way that I can do this that aligns or moves me closer to what I want to do? Because we're not saying necessarily quit right away, even though that's an option. But just do what works for you.
Nah, 100%. To that point, like most people have been living long enough to know when. I mean, I believe in love at first sight, or love at first feel, or
Yeah.
love at first, however you want, experience. Love at first experience, man. And again, when TJ was born, bro, a tear came out my eye. But no, I didn't even know why. I couldn't even control my body. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we feel something, you know, you know. And again, I'm gonna bring this point back up only because I've experienced it, and I've been around people who expressed to me that they felt that I would be disappointed in them by switching it up, right? And when you feel something, not only if you decide to follow that love, will the resources come, will the obstacles, so will the support, so will the people who you think are not going to support you. Because whether people say it or not, everybody wants to see you win. But not only do everybody want to see you win, everybody wants to see you happy. I never met a person that didn't want to see another person happy. I have. I know people get into it with people, but when you're not into, I've never somebody happy. That's the reason why when somebody smiles at you, you smile back. I automatically. It's like it's like when a doctor hits your knee with that deal and your knee flex, and you can't do nothing about it. You gotta smile back. Um, when you decide to follow your love and you let it show, which you won't have no choice to, you get all things. You get all things. The people, the feeling, the love, the money, the joy, the experience. You get it all. And that's the basics. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. What you spoke on about, how did you say that? Man, I lost my train of thought because I was thinking about something else. But the oh yeah, about switching up when you switch things and maybe disappointing yourself or someone else. Like, how much I love music. There have been at least 2 times where me following my love, I thought, oh, I guess I'm never gonna do music again. And that's a crazy thought to think, but in reality, it was like, nah, this is just gonna add to your music. It's gonna add to what you do. And everything that we're inspired by, that causes us to follow it, like, it all adds to who we are. And it doesn't mean you have to give up something else or quit something else. I mean, you might not do it at that particular time, but it just adds to who you are. So I'm with you on that following your love. And so we need to get back to the basic. We need to shake the tree. We need to shake the dislike. We need to shake the hate, shake all that other stuff, so we can get to that core. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I love. Yeah. So if you take nothing else from this episode, just list out everything you want right now, and list out everything you're doing right now. Compare those lists and merge them, or do what you got to do after you see them. You'll put it like this: you'll be so driven by love, you'll know exactly what you need to do of those 2 lists to make it work for you.
You know what's funny? When you say make that list, I promise you, when you make that list, if you decide I'm just gonna start, if I take it off this list, I'll never do it again. And I'm not saying that you should really never do it again,
Yeah.
but you would know what you love if you decide to try to take something off the list that you don't never want to do again. If you say I'm never gonna do whatever I take out the list, I'm never gonna do again, or I'm gonna cross out, you will start really allowing yourself to feel. You allow yourself to feel what it feels like to lose something that you really love. And I think that'll help provide direction and give you a starting point. It's just like I forgot the name of it already. You were
Eisenhower
talking about it.
Matrix.
Yeah, the Eisenhower Matrix. When you start deleting, if you go through your email and you try to delete something that you don't want to delete, watch how fast you hit that undo button. Watch how fast you hit that undo button, because you're gonna know your feelings won't allow you to lie to yourself. Go ahead, Jay.
That's true. Like that unimportant, unurgent thing when it was like deleted, there was some stuff that I was like, I guess this is important, and I marked it as important because I wasn't ready to let it go.
Real talk,
Shout out
real
to
talk.
Loretta. Appreciate it. Love is the
Yes.
magic. Yes.
Yeah. Nah, straight up, bro. Like, and so getting back to the basics on the way that we're saying that you should move forward with this. JClay said, write down everything that you're doing, everything that you want to do. I'm saying, start to cross stuff off and commit to say, when I cross this off, it's done. And before you put that pen to paper, see how you really feel about it. The other thing that I would encourage to do in this is, once you shake that tree and you have what you have left, commit to the time. Like the terminology when it pertains to the things that are left or the thing that is left, you can never say I don't have time. Like, that should be removed from the vocab. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. You can never say I don't have time for this. You have to have time for this. You have to have time for that. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, we make time. Matter of fact, for one of my projects, the my to-do list item that I'm gonna do tomorrow is find an hour to not to work on it, and then find another hour per week to work in it. Like if you have a business working on it, and it's two sets of different tasks. Is to actually doing that, because I have some stuff that I really wanted to do this, but weeks go without me doing nothing. And there are plenty of blocks of hours that I could have chosen just once a week. Like, really, I'm like you said, I'm not gonna let that stop me anymore, because now I know what's important and I know what I'm actually eager to do. It's not like this is not even a chore. It's something that I want to do. So it's almost like, yeah, I can't wait to block out those hours for this week.
One other thing I want to add to this, bro. When you start putting time, like, we project and we will make determinations on things based off of not having enough facts. And so what I mean by that is, when I told myself a week and a half ago that I was gonna dive in, I shook the trees and said, this is what's gonna be first. And then I also set a timeline. I was like, well, I'm not gonna be done with this by this time. But because I was so locked in, the reason why I was able to take my break is because I ended up being I'm talking, when I say way, way ahead of schedule, I ended up being way, way ahead of the timing that I thought. And I mean, like, light years ahead. But the reason why is because I 100% wholeheartedly dove in. And projecting a time was unrealistic because I never knew what it was like to give it all to myself. And so, I said that to say this: all that you want to accomplish, all that you want to achieve is really right in front of you. It's really no further than you can even, it's way closer than you can ever imagine, but you don't know what that really looks like because you haven't given yourself the opportunity. And so, I just want you to know that it's right there. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, it really is, man. And like the excitement I have right now, and again, much has not changed except I deleted some stuff that needed to be deleted. I now I'm refocused. I have my focus back, and it's just excitement. And the thing, and the cool thing about it is, this is not the first time we've talked about something like this. This is just the natural cycle. Like we pick pick a focus, we get excited about it, and then some kind of way we start letting stuff pile on. Let's not repeat that cycle. We've graduated from that cycle. Let's be in the space where we always have this eagerness, this light about us, that we're ready just to do the things that we're inspired by, that we love.
So go ahead and tell me the name of that one more time. The Abraham, what is it called again?
The Eisenhower Matrix.
Eisenhower, right? And to your point, and the point that I made when I went through the training and I started doing this, do not get tired of the process. Do not on the process. Again, I'm not saying don't follow your love. That's completely different. But what I'm telling you is, don't allow what was comfortable, because if you're shaking the trees, you're bringing to the forefront what's important, right? But sometimes when you bring to the forefront what's important, you revert back to what you feel like is comfortable or what is normal. And it does. And again, if those things, if you come to the conclusion that that's what you love, then that's one thing. You're doing it because you're not willing to spend the time and go through the process. I'm telling you, do not get comfortable, do not get bored, and follow through. You should always be enthusiastic about finding your greatest love. Always make that your priority all the time. Go.
Yeah, and to that, because again, everybody might not want to write out stuff or whatever. Like, find your process in that process of simplifying. And the thing about the word important, right? Like, important has many meanings. The things that were important to me before might not have been my love, which is crazy to think that I had a life without that, like without this joy, because I thought maybe other stuff was important. So, but again, that's why I say it's important to see all these things important side by side, because you really get to see, like, man, you telling me if I just kind of focus on this, I can have this, and I don't have to have this anymore that I think that I have to have. And that word important, it blurs, and you see, like, oh, this is what's really important, not this over here. So yeah,
real talk, man. So I'll say this, man. You want to talk about a show that will make you open up your eyes again? And this is the funny thing is, I know this is the way that we live, but it doesn't mean that we have it all right all the time, and it doesn't mean that we always see all the details. And so I want to thank everybody that joined in and tell y'all that you don't realize how much or how important you are to our lives and helping us realize our perfection, because being able to talk through these things, to revisit, to re-emphasize, and re-energize us in the things that we know are important. And it is important for you to continuously revisit things for yourself. And I say it because this show is proof for me and JClay. And we hope that that's one thing that rubs off on you. No matter how many times you see something, it's always cool to shake the tree and get back to the basics, to remind yourself where you're going, what you want, and how you want to get it done. And also to you to remember and feel the love of it all. Feel the love of it all, because your feelings will not lie to you if you allow it to touch your heart the way that you know that it can. And again, I'm thankful for y'all. I encourage y'all all to, remember that you are perfect, and don't allow the outside forces to dictate anything else to you. And Jay, you can go ahead and take us out.
Yeah, appreciate all y'all again for rocking with us. Again, if you want to support us, check out our Patreon. Link is in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Tipsy Pick tuning in on IG. And yeah, just remember, you're a perfect creation made by a perfect creator. So you might as well accept your perfection and enter perfect mode. If I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to perfect mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm JClay, rapper, the spiritual teacher. With my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real. So let's be perfect. Everything